Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bianca and welcome to my October TBR. So October is one of my favorite months and it is the spooky season, it is the cozy fall season. So a lot of the books I have are spooky, witchy, cozy fall themed, along with one memoir. So during the month of October, there are 2 readathons that I'm participating in. There is Vampathon, which is hosted by Jody and a bunch of other booktubers that are participating in that along with her. And then there is Weekend Ween, which is hosted by Olivia Reads a Latte and Gabby Reads. So those 2 readathons I will be participating in, but they are towards the end of the month. So I don't know what I'm going to be reading for them quite yet because it really depends on what I've gotten to during the beginning of the month. But Vampathon is from October 24th through to Halloween, October 31st. And I will have the announcement video linked up above and down in the description so you can get the board for that with a bunch of different prompts. And then there is Weekend Ween. It is the Monster Mash edition, and that is the last weekend in October. It is Friday. It starts Friday, October 28th, and it'll end Monday on Halloween, October 31st again. And I will also have that linked up above and down in the description so you can see the announcement videos for that. I'll probably have TBR videos going up closer to that time because I will have already started or read some books, so hopefully there will still be some more that I want to get to where I can apply them to the prompts for those readathons. So let's just get into the books that I want to get to this month, and hopefully some of them will apply to those prompts. The first one is a reread. I've read this for the past 2 years, every year for Halloween, for October. It is Fangs by Sarah Anderson. This is a graphic novel. It's a romance about a vampire and a werewolf falling in love. And I love it. It's quick. It's, I think, exactly 100 pages. It's exactly 100 pages, so it's a really quick read. It's fun, and I love to read this and get into the mood for the spooky season. Then we have one that came out this year. I might have mentioned it in my last TBR, I think, but I wanted to hold off and read it for October. I did read the first chapter, but then I stopped and put it down, and I wanted to pick it up this month. This is Killers of a Certain Age by Deanna Raybourn. This is about a group of assassins who have been working for 40 years and now they want to retire. So they go on a cruise and soon realize that, somebody's trying to kill them. And they're like, well, that's not happening. So I love this. It's geriatric assassins. That's what I got when the book was recommended, and I love that. That sounds amazing. Deanna Raybourn also wrote the Veronica Speedwell series, and I cannot wait to continue with this because the first chapter was amazing. So I cannot wait to see where this goes. And then we have a recent release. This is The Cryptid Club, and I cannot get over how gorgeous this book is. I can't. And the ghosts glow in the dark. I can't get over it. This is gorgeous, and it's in color. The art is amazing. Sarah Anderson is one of my favorite artists. I have almost all of her books, and I love them. So this is a look into the adventures of elusive creatures, including Mothman, the Loch Ness jackalopes, and Fresno nightcrawlers. So, I mean, it sounds amazing. It looks great, and I cannot wait to pick this up. And it's so gorgeous. I love this. Next, we have the third book in a series. I read the first book and the second book a couple of years ago. This is The Righteous by Renee Audier. This is not a relatively recent release. So this was released last year. So this series is about, what's her name? So the original series follows Celine, who arrives in New Orleans to look for a husband. There she meets Sebastian Saint Germain. He is some type of supernatural creature. I can't really remember. I should probably reread the entire series before picking this up. But this one branches off from those and follows a different character. So this one follows Celine's friend Pippa, who joins with one of Sebastian's friends, Arjun, to find out where her best friend went. So again, this follows the supernatural, mystical, vampire, wolf type creatures. So very much want to see where this goes. I really do kind of want to reread The Beautiful and the Damned first, but I don't think this really, it doesn't really continue that story because it focuses on the character, but I might. Next we have a kind of like, I don't want to call it a spooky romance, like a witchy romance. It gives me kind of rom-com vibes, but I'm not sure how I feel about it, so this is like a maybe on my list. I might pick this up. So this is Small Town Big Magic by Hazel Beck, and it follows a woman who has built the life of her dreams. She loves everything she's doing until she gets attacked by a creature, and she ends up fighting off this creature with magic that she didn't know she had. So it turns out that when she was younger, she was tested and found to not have magic, so all of her memories of magic were removed. But all of her friends know about magic. Her whole town is a town for witches. So now she's kind of feeling, lied to, and so now she has to learn everything again. She has to try and remember her magic, control what's inside her, and there's a big mystery going on in town too. And apparently dealing with some feelings for a childhood friend. So I don't know, it sounds good, but I did flip through it, and it is in first person, and I don't know how I feel about first person POV. I'll probably still pick it up because try everything once, but I don't consciously remember reading a book in first person, but first time for everything. I have been looking forward to this book for so long. I read the first 2 books within like 3 days, and I loved them. They were both 5-star reads for me, and this is the final book in that series, and I cannot wait to pick this up. This is The Final Gambit by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is part of the Inheritance Games series trilogy, I believe, because I think this is the last one. But maybe she'll write more to the world. I don't know. But I loved those 2 books. They follow Avery, who is a normal teenager living with her sister, going to high school until she's pulled into the principal's office and told she's inherited millions of dollars from this old man that she never even met. And now she has to deal with the family of that gentleman who just decided to leave her his entire fortune. So I guess this is the final book. This series has so much action. I loved it. It has some romance in there. There's explosions, there's gunshots, it's everything. When describing this, when I was recommended the book, what brought me in was that it was compared to Knives Out, and it really does have Knives Out vibes. I mean, it's got the dead millionaire, the people who want to inherit, there's mystery, it's got puzzles and riddles and everything, and it's great. I just love it. Next, we have another of my most anticipated releases. This is How to Survive Your Murder by Danielle Valentine. It's got cat ears on the cover, and I can honestly say this cover is what drew me to this book originally, and then I read the synopsis and I was hooked. This follows a girl named Alice. Alice. And unfortunately, her sister was murdered. So since Alice's sister Claire was murdered, her life has kind of like fallen apart. Claire was the popular one, Claire was the personable one, and Alice was the one who kind of stayed in her room and was obsessed with true crime. And then Claire was murdered in a corn maze on Halloween. So it's been a year, and now it's time for the trial to convict the person that they believe killed her sister. And then while Alice is in the bathroom, she's attacked by a Sidney Prescott lookalike. That hooked me. And she wakes up a year earlier on the night of her sister's murder, and she has to try to survive it and prevent it. So it's not a long book, but it sounds so good. I really hope it holds up. So this is about 296 pages. It's not even 300 pages, but I really hope it holds up. Blood on the cover and glittery cat ears. I want to. The back says, rule number 1, never go into the corn maze alone. Rule number 2, nothing good happens on Halloween. Rule number 3, never be distracted by a hot bad boy. Rule number 4, don't die this time. I'm hoping there's some romance in this by Distracted by a Hot Bad Boy, because I love a book with romance. If you watch my channel, you know this about me. I love a book with romance. So this next book, I'm not even sure where I heard about it from. I might have been just looking on Amazon and it might have popped up as a recommendation. But when I heard what it was about, I had to pick it up. So this is The Book of Living Secrets by Madeline Rowe. And okay, so this follows two best friends who love a book. It's a fantasy romance. They've loved it, but they can't get in touch with the author, so they've just read this book over and over again. They know this book back to front. And then they're given a offer to go into the book. So they do, and it turns out, things aren't the way they're supposed to be, so obviously something sinister is going on. But how can you not love two best friends going into their favorite book? I mean, just that made me want to read this. This cover is also really interesting, and I cannot wait to pick this up. It looks great. It's just gorgeous. Next, we have a book by one of my, I won't say favorite, but when I read the book, she kind of became one of my favorite authors. But I've only read one book because it was her debut novel, and this is her second one. So this is Wild as a Witch by Rachel Griffin. I read The Nature of Witches, which was her debut novel, and I loved it. It was one of my favorite books of that year, and I don't even know what this book is about. I bought it purely because Rachel Griffin wrote it. That was it. So, yeah, no, that sounds great. So this follows Iris Gray, who had something traumatic happen, and as a result, she decides she's never going to practice magic again. She's never going to share that she's a witch. So now she's living in Washington with her mother, running a wildlife reserve, and she gets her frustrations out by writing curses that she never plans to use. She never plans for them to be used. She just uses them to vent her anger and whatnot. And then she interacts with Pike, who is a witch-hating ornithologist. And I believe an ornithologist is a bird watcher or a bird scientist or something. And, they butt heads. So she writes a curse, a horrible one, for Pike. But before she can destroy it, it is snatched up by an owl and the owl flies away. But it turns out in this world that the owl is a powerful amplifier. And if the owl dies before she can retrieve this curse, then the curse will be unleashed not only on Pike, but on the entire world. So she teams up with Pike in order to find this owl so she can get the curse back. But Pike doesn't know why she's after the owl. So she needs to decide how far she's willing to go to keep her secret safe. But Rachel Griffin does a great job of creating these worlds and putting hidden messages in them, because The Nature of Witches, while it was a witchy story on the surface, was also really about climate change. So I cannot wait to see what this one is about. It sounds amazing, and this is a gorgeous book. And if you get first editions, I think this is the same cover that they used for Nature of Witches, because it looks very familiar. But I cannot wait to pick this up. Next, we have one that I don't remember if it was recommended or if I just saw it at Target and I bought it because it sounded interesting. But this is Dark and Shallow Lives by Jenny Myers Sane. This is about a girl who spends her summers in this town that is primarily psychic. Everybody has psychic powers in this town, and that's where she spends her summers with her grandmother. And her best friend disappears, but nobody knows what happens to her. And that just seems unrealistic in a town full of psychics and people who can read minds and see the future and whatnot. So she decides she's gonna, look for her best friend, and discovers that everybody's got secrets, including her grandmother and her childhood crush, and even her late mother, whose secrets called to her from the grave. So this sounds great. It's a little chunky, a little over 400 pages, but it sounds good. It says, in this town, magic runs deep, but secrets run deeper. So I love this cover, and I'm curious to see what this is about. This is a book that I have seen all over BookTube and Instagram and everywhere. It is a memoir. It is a new release, and I've heard it's amazing. Everything I've heard about it has been 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. So this is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. This is her memoir about her mother, who was not the greatest. I believe her mom encouraged her to have an eating disorder and guilted her into following what the mother wanted her to do. So I cannot wait to get into this. I think I want to get the audiobook also so that I can listen and read along. But I've heard amazing things. I did catch a clip of Jeanette McCurdy talking about an email that her mother sent her that I believe is in this book, where her mother proceeded to insult her and demean her, and then as she closed out the letter, asked her to replace the refrigerator. So she's been through a lot, and I cannot wait to read this and see if I give it 5 stars. I don't really like rating nonfiction, but we'll see how this goes. Next we have, I don't think this was a anticipated release, but it has been anticipated since I bought it and heard about it. This is Her Majesty's Royal Coven by Juno Dawson. This is the Fairy Loot, not the Fairy Loot, no. This is the Waterstones edition, and it is signed. So this follows a group of friends who discover their wishes, and then years later they join Her Majesty's Royal Coven, where they solve supernatural events and incidences, uphold the tradition of witchcraft in London, and safeguard their legacy. So it says, Her Majesty's Royal Coven is a place for women and girls to reach their full potential, develop their gifts, and enjoy the protection and sisterhood that only an official coven can provide. This, just from that line, gives me the Ravens vibes, because that was another one that was about not a coven but a sorority of witches, and the big theme for that was sisterhood and standing up for your sisters. So this gives me those vibes, but I cannot wait to pick that up. And then the final book that I plan to attempt to get to this month is Belladonna by Adeline Grace. This is the Gorgeous Fairy Loot edition, so the cover is different. But this follows a girl whose name is Signa Farrow, and she's been an orphan all of her life, but she also has had all of her guardians mysteriously die as she has grown. And then she comes to live on I think it's the Hawthorne. Yep, she lives with the Hawthorns at Thorn Grove. And it turns out that her cousin's mother's ghost comes up and says she's been poisoned. So there's some mystery, and death makes an appearance, and there's romance. So this sounds amazing, sounds right up my alley, and I cannot wait to pick this up. This one was on my most anticipated releases, so I'm glad I got a copy in Fairy Loot. So those were the books I'm most interested in getting to this month. There are a lot, 13 books in total. So we'll see how that goes. but I do hope I get to all of them. I think a majority of them do work for the prompts for Vampathon and Weekend Ween. Very much look forward to participating in those. Let me know down below if you guys are gonna participate in any readathons this month, and let me know what books you're reading. I'm definitely interested. If you have any more spooky reads, murder mysteries, anything, let me know down below. I love talking to you guys in the comments, and I will see you guys in my next video. Have a great day or night wherever you are, and don't forget to pick up a good book. Bye.